Welcome to Auto Dealer Live. I'm David Villa.
I'm Mikey Oquendo.
And this is going to be an amazing show. Why? Because we have Matt Lasco, Vice President of the Lasco Auto Group in Michigan, and John Luciano, owner and operator of Street Volkswagen in Amarillo, Texas. What a great show. Check it out. Here they are. All right, so here we are with John Luciano and Matt Lasco. And gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. And hey, I want to jump right into this. And Matt, the good news here, the past 12 months, right? Inventory has increased statistically by 70%. Here's the bad news, right? Sales have not gone up that rapidly, right? They've gone up around 10%. So, what's going on? In your opinion, you're a student of this industry. You've been through the good, the bad, the ugly. What's going on in this industry? What are we looking at here as we move into 2023 and beyond?
Well, I think you've got multiple factors. Probably the one I see the most is affordability becoming a challenge. Even with the price increases and cost increases a year ago, we had either low interest rates or some supplemental things that came from the government to stimulate purchasing, and people could afford it. Right now, we're kind of the opposite. We've got less in the average consumer's bank account. Interest rates, even if you say they're up a few percent, they're up by double when you compare them to what they were a year ago. And I think that's, in my opinion, one of the larger stalls is just flat out the walk from their current vehicle to an next one is becoming too big.
That's good. John, same question to you, man. I'm sure you agree. You're there on the blacktop. You guys are both operators, but anything else you want to add to that?
Well, I mean, Matt's spot on right there. And then, interest rates came with it. And I think Matt's probably doing the same with the brands that he's talking to. So we're talking to Volkswagen pretty heavily about, we've tried to talk to you about this, about bringing it back, bringing these inventories back so fast, not incentivizing them right off the bat, not being prepared for it. And now it's becoming an issue, and it still is not there. But we're 2.9 to 3.1, 3.2, 3.3 was probably last year's rate. And now today, it's probably 8.1, 8.2, 8.3. And that 5 points is, $30, $40, $50. It's a lot. That's a big step, as Matt said. That's just a hard walk up right now. And especially if the guy had one from 2 years ago and he's thinking, I'd like to stay under warranty and stay in a car less than three, all that, it doesn't make any sense because the payment's so high.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Matt, what do you think about this? So that's actually a good point. So bringing up the affordability here, I was looking at some of the KBB stats. So it's going right along with what you said, right? So they're expecting about 8 million fewer used cars reaching the market in the next few years because of what happened, the years prior, right? Always hits the used market a little bit later. And so that could inhibit some of the maybe sustained price drops on that market that people are hoping for. On top of that, as you said, it's harder to find those more inexpensive used cars that are, $15,000 or less. What is, maybe talking about the used car side of things, obviously you guys are both new car franchise dealers, but what are you guys doing in the used car department? Maybe talk about some acquisition strategies right now, because I know that's a big part of the success of a store right now. So yeah. What are some of the things you guys are doing on those fronts?
Well, I think there's two sides to it. So we just had this conversation on Wednesday when I went over the used car departments. Vehicles that are expensive on the used car side are going to take the depreciation that everyone's forecasting. That's the $50,000+ pre-owned vehicle, even like the heavy-duty truck that would sell for $70,000 is slowing down. But a $40,000 higher mile older one is still in demand. Or in the $15,000 car, honestly, is, in my opinion, is now the $20,000 car. Yeah, we went from $5,000 to $10,000 to $15,000 to $20,000 in 4 years. And so you win every car deal. We're trying to, now that we have new car inventory, why wouldn't I basically do anything I could to earn a customer's business that has a trade-in that would be a positive sale for us? And whether you're stocking the new car or the used car, you're looking for less chasing the big fancy platinum type options and more the affordable but a real nice car with the miles that might just fit a payment. And you are making the decision based on what the consumer payment will come out to in the end, rather than just on grabbing a piece of inventory because everything was selling a year ago.
And you've already kind of said what you said there, which is too, it sounds like you're focused more on acquiring from your customer base rather than, the auction, which I know is something I've heard a lot of as well.
And I do think the auction's going to settle. I think that there's still I drove past a couple of the big box used car dealers on my drive. I'm going from Michigan to Tennessee, and they have a lot of cars there. And I know their sales rates are not what the volume on their lots are. They're just not willing to take some losses. And I think that they're halfway right. Depreciation is going to be a little slower, but I also think that the ones that are sitting on floor plans and used cars and interest rates, what they think they're saving by not taking that hit at the auction, they're probably going to pay out in the long run as well.
Yeah. John, so just kind of off topic here, just based on what Matt's saying in the question. I mean, and I don't know what you're doing. I know you are heavy in the last few months on acquisition or the last year, but I mean, talk about this. These dealers are starting to realize the power they have, I think, as well, the smart dealers, and even looking towards this term buying center, kind of shifting the game a little bit. And have you gotten into any of that? And what is your perspective on that? And maybe even moving forward, has it put more power in the dealer's hands to kind of look at things and go, hey, we have some options here that maybe we didn't know we had before?
We jumped into it real hardcore probably during COVID, during the pandemic 3 years ago, because, travel was hard, auctions. Right now, I mean, I'm sure Matt would agree with me, the auction fees are almost out of control. I mean, the $50,000 car, Mannheim's $845 to $1,000. Then you've got freight. Then it kind of almost takes the car out of market, especially if you're not paying attention. All of a sudden you bought the car for $30,000, thought you had a deal, and all of a sudden there's $1,000 and you're kind of out of gear. So we really just kind of got away from that heavily and really worked our market, everything from every piece of advertising we do. But we took it to the next level. We actually pay the salesperson on a purchase just like a car deal. So they drive people, they go find their people all over, bring the car in, we look at it, and if we say the car is a $36,000 car and they can go out in the parking lot and buy it for $34,000, it's a $2,000 deal. They just like a car deal. They get credit for the sale, they get credit on the commission for their piece of it. We pay a flat on it, and it's been phenomenal for us. It's worked like a champ. We're seeing things we don't see, family members, friends. And then at that time, a lot of times if you ask these people, we found very heavily lately, had one this morning on a Cadillac Escalade, we really were just appraising that for them to sell it to his brother. But he was just trying to find out what it was worth. So the guy kind of came clean because we've learned to ask that question. Yeah. So we turned it around and said, okay, we get that, and you're going to charge your brother a little bit more. Who's going to do the financing? Well, we kind of haven't got that far. How about if we do the financing for you? So we've taken it to that level. Mm-hmm. We've had a couple of times where the financing couldn't go through, and then the consumer says, well, you know what, I'll just sell you the car anyway. So we just take it to the extreme when we have that conversation. And then the other conversation is, more than anything, is penciling deals now, is asking people, what do you have at home that doesn't run anymore, or maybe it's out there? And we're buying a lot of that and running it in either auctions, or we've been running a bunch of it in the insurance sales or the other sales. That $500,000 and $100,000 car that we can buy, some of those transmissions now are worth $3,500. Yeah. Some of these engines are worth these auto salvage yards. You'd be surprised what they're paying for this stuff and really don't have a source for it. And so we had a very successful last 2 months just buying stuff that you would normally not buy. We have our own flat tilt back trailer with a winch, and we send our guys to go get it. So you're right. All of this has created us to have a whole new realm of thinking. Well, we gain a customer. They're excited to get it out of the yard. And so you just got to, I know the term is old, and Dave, you and I have talked about a lot about thinking outside the box. I think over the next 2 years, the guys that are going to weather this storm, you're going to have to be not only out of the box, you're going to have to be out of the hemisphere. You're going to have to be out there.
Matt, I think, John, so Matt, with that being said, I mean, I think that what has this forced us to do? And I want to ask you, Matt, maybe you have some things that you've done, from an innovation standpoint. What it's forced us to do as business people, not just car people, right? In business in general, is forced people over the last 2-3 years to innovate, to find creative ways to do things. But what it also has done, which typically creativity does, is it produces other revenue streams. I mean, like what I just heard John say is there's like multiple other ways that we're figuring out ways to make money here. And I've talked to a lot of dealers. What do you think about that? Maybe some things that you guys have brought to the table that you weren't doing before that actually have been a positive coming out of the last year or so.
Yeah, I would agree with John in a lot of different angles there. It's kind of, a lot of our dealerships and even other businesses right now have more space or storage or car lot or building or people than they necessarily need. But you're there and you're paying for all that. And so whatever you can do to bring in a new revenue stream into the same business hours and the same group of people and the same building that you're doing is a major factor, because we all see this continual expense change in our industry.
Yeah.
Or as we see inventories come, we know our margins are going to get beat up on. So, I mean, no different. We added a trailer company that is a one-off. We got it just for Michigan. It's a lowering trailer that you can load, race cars on or classic cars on, et cetera. And we're actually a dealer of it because we had a building in a parking lot and we had a need. We sell a ton of cars like that throughout, and instantly you're selling a few a month. That type of a thing is what dealers are going to be out doing, is trying to add something to their business rather than just rolling along and being the average car dealer.
That's good.
That's a great point. Something else I want to go back to, thinking about what John was talking about earlier and what really Matt was talking about there, which was, I mean, at its core, just creativity, resourcefulness, coming up with new revenue streams like you guys were talking about. Something else, I was thinking about the situation John was talking about with the Escalade and the questions he was asking and what he uncovered. I think that brings up an interesting point too, because I think now we're moving into an environment where and we're already at that point where people aren't necessarily just going to buy a car because you have it, which is what was going on, there for a while. It's just things were scarce, and if you had it, there wasn't really much you had to do. So maybe talk a little bit about, have there been any people that, in your process of helping your team engage in this new market, what are you guys doing with that? Because I'm sure there have been some people who've gotten used to the idea of asking a few basic questions and not having to do the usual thing. And what does that look like? Let
me before you answer, let me just add to that too, because I was we heard this at Digital Dealer. A president of NADA Academy did some statistics, and maybe this can help with that question as well, because I was going to ask this, and we'll just let you guys, the next few minutes that we have, let you guys kind of run loose on this. So really kind of talking about personnel. I think it's and so last year, I think the statistics were like 3 times the amount of money the average salesperson made than before, 3 times the amount of money the average sales manager made, 3 times the amount of money the average GM made. So now, it's different. How do we address this? How do we coach them? How do we deal with our people? What are we saying to them? What kind of changes are being made as things kind of shift back into, more like maybe what they were? Do you guys have some insight on that? Because I know that's a pain point for dealers all over the place. We'll start with you, John or Matt.
Well, I mean, Dave, you guys bring up a really good point, and luckily, some dealers, and I'm gonna bet you that Matt was a lot like us. We made sure that every month, as we were handing out those crazy checks, we made it very clear that this was a blip in history. We talked about it. We planned for it. We didn't change anything. This is great. We're making our percentage. You're making yours. But please put a bunch of this away. Don't think this is your lifestyle. Don't think this is going to go back to these $20,000 and $30,000 sales managers. That doesn't exist in the real world, especially not in a small town and other areas. So my team did real well with it. But in my 20 group and with some stuff I did with Volkswagen, some dealers are really having a hard time because their management has left because they believe that they were a $30,000, $40,000 manager, and they're out trying to find that now. And of course, it doesn't exist. And so we coached it real well. But you brought up what are we doing today? It's funny that you said that. You guys know Ron Gavrick that works for me, the automotive architect. Yeah. Ron is back in the store, and we're going back and retraining all of our sales force right now because we realize that a lot of them joined us in the last 3 or 4 years where you just kind of were an order taker. And I don't mean that to sound bad, and I'm not pushing anybody down, but you really could kind of taken up. That customer really almost done your job. They've already looked, hey, I want a blue Passat, I want this package, and I'm willing to pay this, right? So you just said, okay, fine, let me see if I can find you one. Hey, we're going to have to do it. I found it. We're going to have to do a trade for it. You're going to have to pay a little more. Okay. Those days are gone. They're long gone. So now we're retraining you back where I learned back in the 70s and 80s. Now you got to be a salesperson. Now you're going to have to go back and fact find and listen and what can you afford. And you're just having to go back to an old, either, I don't know whether you want to call it a 12-step or however many steps you have in your selling process. We're back to that. And we got away from it for 3 years. There's no question. So many of us were, hey, it's window sticker, or I'll call you if I get one that we want a discount. And those days are just, they don't exist anymore. And Matt, I'm sure you're looking at what I am. I mean, I have 80 new cars on the ground today, and we are begging Volkswagen to slow this down. Let's not go back to where we were, especially at 8%. I mean, we can't go and have 200 cars on the ground. The turn rates are not there, and you can't afford it. So it's some very scary water right now that we're treading through.
Yes. Matt?
Yeah, I guess the first part I think that I would touch on where I think that NADA missed a little bit of is it wasn't, yes, everybody made great money, dealer down to the sales rep, et cetera. But it wasn't necessarily these gigantic 3 times the incomes as much as it was the per transaction or per sales dollars, et cetera. So what we're really focused on, and we were just like John, we talked to the team, we made sure they understand realistic. We've done 2 things. One, as 1 or 2 people may have left to try to chase a greener grass, we didn't add people back. We stayed leaner.
Amen.
So it allowed the people that stayed, to get a bigger piece of the pie. And 2, the goal is, okay, how do I get more profit per transaction, get some volume increase back up, and give them opportunities to still make the great money. They're just going to have to work a little harder or be a little more creative or be part of the whole process. And very much so, like John said there, I'm that, I don't know how you would say it, I'm the person planning for the worst always 12 months ahead. I've done it my whole career.
Right.
Probably 18 to 12 months ago, we went all in on retraining because what we found is we had hired a lot of people over the past 3 years. They were all new, and they learned the easiest way ever to sell cars. And even our veterans forgot how to sell, and then the new people really didn't know what it meant to be. And so we regrouped, and we've been doing the same thing from process to experience to training. Now you have to just sharpen the sword and be the best you can be because it's not easy. And sometimes for us, it's kind of fun. The better dealers do the best when challenging times come, and we kind of embrace that as a company.
That's
I like
good.
that.
That's good. Well, guys, I want to thank you guys for being on with us. I know you're extremely busy, and hearing what you're saying, because look, here's the deal. This industry, and I'll say this, maybe we'll give you some closing remarks on this. Just take 30 seconds each.
Yeah.
I believe, and I'm an optimist, but I believe this industry is primed and ready, like never before to really grow and do things that it's never done. So I think the best is yet to come, and it's not just because I'm an optimist. I can see the horizon, so to speak, and take 30 seconds and just maybe give your best case to dealers listening on why you feel like overall that the best is yet to come for this industry. We'll start with you.
And also maybe just to add to that, because I agree. I think I like to look at it from that perspective too. And I know you guys mentioned that the positive perspective of challenging times and being able to produce really awesome things from that. Maybe just touch on briefly, like, what do you think you can do in this time specifically to help move forward and grow your business, build a successful business, really regardless of what's going on? Because I think, like you said, there's opportunity to do something great right now, and it could be a great year for those who are creative and really attack it. So I think that would be a good thing to add as well.
First off, it's going to be people. And how great can you make them? How happy can you make them be? And then on the same side, your client, how great of an experience can you give them? That's the deep reality when if people have a choice of where to buy, or they have deals out there and they can choose the deal they want, then they're choosing you, which means your people are what they're choosing, and we've got to carry it down. So that'll be our biggest thing as a company, is to carry on training experience and what the customer wants. And you've got to listen at that stage, right? And my carry to that would be is you're going to have to be very, very willing to be mobile as an auto dealer. Every 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months, your market could be different. I've had to talk a lot with management team. Sure, 6 months ago, whatever it was, I'd say it was a Ford Maverick, and they were selling for $10,000 over sticker, and now a guy wants to order one, and they might order it for MSRP. It's a different market. That's where I would say that if dealers don't react fast, then they're the ones sitting way, way, way behind. We went from, I think, $12 million in used car inventory to $6 million in used car inventory 12 months ago, and we're turning the same amount of cars in sales. And imagine the interest that saved us as a company, and the depreciation when everyone finally had a soft market.
Yeah.
Be ahead of the game if you want to be good.
That's good. Thank you, Matt. John?
Well, I'm going to see if you guys can pick this up. I'm going to turn my camera here for a second and just show you. It's funny that you talked about people, but can you all read that?
Yeah.
So you can see we've taken KPI, and you can see the P is now people, right? So we're going to keep them informed. We're going to keep them involved. We're going to keep them interested. We're going to keep them inspired. So I'm with Matt 1,000%, without a doubt, that now the truth comes out. Right now it's, what do you have? Who do you have? Who can understand it? Your hours are going to change. I mean, we got pretty spoiled. You could you run 9 to 6, how to do it. So to me, the car business is back, and there's the business of selling cars, and there's the car business. And for a while there, we were getting to enjoy that business of selling cars, and all you did was just take orders and sell cars, and we were dillards for the most part, right? And you took care of it. I believe those days are gone. And now it's kind of the same thing with interest rates doing what they're doing. We're taking a thinner or a tighter deal. You're going in and convincing the customer, look, I still got you to the 340 or 380 payment, but this is still your rate. But we got you there strictly by giving up gross. So now all that training's got to come into play, and letting it find its water. And I agree with you, Dave. It's going to be exciting to figure it out. It's going to be nice to have some inventory back. Whether people job-wise can afford to do it just yet, it's going to be interesting to see as it comes around. So
awesome. Matt Lasco, John Luciano, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us, and we appreciate it. We hope you guys close May strong and have an awesome summer.
Thank you. Enjoy it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Enjoy
gentlemen.
the conversation, everybody. Have a great weekend.
You too.
You too.
That show was fire. John and Matt lit it up. Mikey, great show.
It was. And I can't wait to do it again. We're going to do it again real soon. In fact,
I can't wait. Hey, speaking of doing it again, make sure you find us on Spotify and Apple and YouTube and subscribe. Share this and listen, help us blow this thing up. We are excited to be back, and we're going to see you guys really soon on the next episode.
And make sure to click that little bell so that way you actually get notified about our episodes. Otherwise, you won't know about it, right? That's not good.
That's right. All right, we'll see you guys soon.